Welcome, my friends, my countrymen, my fellow nerds, to a special midweek edition of the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. This is Ro from the Red 5 Network. You know me as the butt to my own scuttle, I guess, until Brad gets back. But thank you very much for joining us. I know we got some people in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Charles looks like he's doing taxes. Ubaldo is almost getting drunk. We got Matt. Hey, Matt, thank you for joining us. I think, are you, let's see, you are new, aren't you, here at the Scarif podcast? Thank you very much for joining us. If you're not new, forgive me, but yeah, we're gonna have so I've been wanting to do just kind of like a show on card collecting, and I usually get put to shame because obviously one of our friends that does just his podcast is all about cards, and he's Greg from Rebel Base Card. He's got the knowledge, and I'm always hesitant to actually do a show about cards and card collecting, because obviously if you want anything of significance, you would go to him. But if you can't beat him, join him. And I asked him to join me tonight. We're going to be talking about cards. I've got a set of cards that I want to feature, and these are great. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these are widescreen. I think it's the Star Wars Frames collection, and they're beautiful. Can't wait to put these on camera for you guys. We're going to talk about those. We've got some other cards that we're going to feature, and we might show one of these. Look at that. Some exclusive Rebel Base card collections. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Remember to grab your drink and your sunscreen, because it's always sunny on Scarif. Let's push a couple of buttons, wait for people to come on in. There's seats up in the front, just like at church. Come on up, and we'll start the show right after this.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
That is right. Let's get Greg in here. Hold on a second. There's a lot of buttons here. Hey.
Hey.
What's happening, sir?
Nothing much, man. What an incredible time to be a Star Wars fan with the Bad Batch going on. We just got done recording Breakfast Back with myself and Greg Cass from Ion Cannon.
Very nice.
You got to love it, because we're also hearing the Acolytes coming out, although I can't even put my head around that. So it's fun because we're doing what we want to do most, Ro. We're talking Star Wars, and
Yeah.
I love getting a chance to talk Star Wars with you. It's fortunate you are, we're in the same vicinity, and so we get to run into each other on occasion. And I just want to say thank you very much for talking about cards, because as soon as I saw you put that, I'm like, how do I not invite myself on this show?
Absolutely. Like I said, I mean, if you want cards, you go to Greg. You want, shenanigans are over here for the most part. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for making time during the week. Usually we do our shows on Saturdays, but we said, you know what the hell? Let's give everybody a treat. I know it's a treat when you're on the show, so thank you so much. And yeah, this is great. We've got a couple of people in the chat. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us.
Yeah.
Some new people and some friends here. Twist My Arm, excited for this one. Thank you very much. And Twist My Arm has a new show coming up, revamped show coming up in March. So check it out. Check him out. Follow him on all the socials. Look for Twist My Arm. wherever you find your other favorite podcasts and or socials. So yes, absolutely. You talked about Bad Batch, and are you enjoying it?
I love it. It's funny because Bad Batch allowed, my show, we talk about, cards, collecting, community, and so forth. It gave me a chance to try out a format or to try to like dip my toe in the water of, can we talk about shows? And like yours, there's a ton of great podcasts out there. And Greg Cass was a gem to come on, and we kind of found something that kind of worked. And
Mhm.
so we kind of grew that part of the show along with the Bad Batch. And it's kind of been fun because it's that similar Clone Wars animation style that just gets better and better and easier and faster. And someone brought this up. I think it was Thank the Maker brought up like, yeah, it's like they just had a season last year, right? That was going on at the same time as Mando 2 or
Right.
Mando 3,
Right.
and they cranked out a whole new season. And we're not going to see, the next thing with Mando for a while. And so it's going to be kind of a shame to see this end because, as we were kind of talking, these characters are really good in their own skin. The interplay between them are so good. The writing sharp and everything, and it's kind of fun. And you're getting it in that small dose,
Mhm.
25 minutes or so forth. And it's nice. You can binge it, or you can, kind of lap it up this morning when it comes out. I like that appointment television for Ahsoka. But okay, if this is the way you like doing the batch, and it's fun, and it's going into that time period that we don't know a lot about, or there's
Sure.
been some, comics and books and whatnot, but it's fun and we're having a good time. And I think that's what it's all about. You know, we like talking about Star Wars. We hope that, we bring something to the table with everybody else out there. And it's just really great to get everybody's takes on it. But it's also fun because I think this season everybody's really on board with it, or at least a lot of the podcasts and a lot of the people that I follow on
Sure.
social media seem to be on it. And I think you as well, right?
Absolutely. When they announced that Bad Batch was going to be a series, I wasn't too crazy about it because I didn't really, I remember them being in the Clone Wars and the subsequent shows, and I wasn't too crazy about them as characters. So I'm like, Bad Batch, whatever. You watch the first season, you watch a couple of them, but damn, these characters really grew on me, and every season was better than the previous season from my perspective, and you mentioned that last season Bad Batch was going on concurrently with season 3 of Mandalorian, and I definitely was enjoying Bad Batch a lot more than Mandalorian. I think the writing was top notch in Bad Batch. It continues to be, and I think I'm really looking forward to seeing how they wrap things up. And again, for anybody that knows me, I like I like stories that are like a little on the dark side. So the fact that, last season we lost a character, one of the main characters, I hope they kind of stick to their guns on this. Um, and I almost want to say that, I almost want some more major consequences that to happen to this group, because I mean we fell in love with them. They're great characters, and I think there are some sacrifices that need to be made in order for this to be kind of a powerful end to the story. I don't want it to be all doom and gloom, obviously, but I think to be able to have something happen that means something, rather than, oh, he died, oh, he's back somehow, Palpatine returned. uh, I feel that they're kind of going in that direction. And if they pull the trigger, I hope they stick to their guns. But I'm enjoying the story. Ubaldo is saying that the story and the animation are fantastic. I have
Agreed.
to agree with that. Like I said, I was enjoying last season's show a lot more than Mando. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's been really great. You mentioned The Acolyte, and that's a show that I am looking forward to again, because I saw the leaked trailer from Celebration, the cell phone trailer, and it does seem pretty dark, pretty serious. And that's what I like. That's what I like in my Star Wars. I like stories that'll make you think. I like stories that are not like, super cutesy with the baby aliens and daddy issues. So I'm looking forward to Acolyte. And the fact that we don't know a lot about it is kind of surprising to me. That and Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew, we probably know a lot less about Skeleton Crew than we do about Acolyte. At least, you've got some of the actors from Acolyte saying one thing or the other. You've got obviously the leaked, trailers and stuff like that. But really looking forward to both of those projects.
And I think you hit on something, Rowan, when we talk about, we're a long ways away from those kids who saw the OT and even and then went through the prequels, right? We're 25 years from the Phantom Menace. And I think that Rogue One resonated, I think, so well with a lot of folks, a lot of older folks, is because it seemed to be at a Star Wars that was maybe a little bit for adults, but I think in some ways it showed that sacrifice. It showed that, like what they went for, like everybody just gave it all. And I like the fact that there's a little bit of Star Wars for everyone, and that I want Disney Plus to succeed, right?
Sure,
I don't
yeah,
think Bob Iger needs another yacht, but I want creators to have the leeway to make the stories that they seem cool. I want their takes on things, but I'd like them to find that balance of the number of episodes and the story, so that they either don't have to cram it all together, or they don't have to make it too large. I mean, go back and watch some of those Star Trek The Next Generation episodes. As much as we love them, when you get to like 20 some episodes, you're like, there was some real, like, okay, we had to fill this one. And
yeah,
so, I hate to use the word, filler, because it's all connected,
sure,
but I want good stories, and we've kind of seen from different creators throughout the Disney Plus era. Sometimes it hits really well, sometimes it doesn't. You get your Andors, you get your Book of Boba Fett's, Ahsoka, Kenobi. There's a lot of different takes. I want them to keep trying, but we do. I think the criticism that I would say that is warranted is, we want good stories. We want good writing. Are we going to get an Andor every time? Not really, but I think that we're pretty forgiving and go along with the ride, as long as I think that, hey, if you got from A to B to C, and you go and you really thought it through, and there's a cohesive thing, I think we're on board. I also like the fact that we're not getting a movie for a while, because
sure,
I'm like, everybody's getting shredded at the box office. I mean, have you
hmm,
seen the reviews from Madam Web?
right,
Eh. Um, I don't want that to kind of continue, because everybody's really teeing up these things to really take a crack at, big bullseye on them. I'm like, look, I want a little bit of anticipation. I want a good story. And if you think it's going to make a better TV show, make that TV show. If you
yeah,
think it's going to be make a better movie, I mean, bring in Tom Cruise as a consultant, because that guy makes tons of good movies that people go and
yeah,
watch. They
sure,
know how to do it, and they know how to do it in that, but at any rate, but that's, and I also like the fact, just with Acolyte, I read the first book of, the High Republic, and it was a lot going on, and I haven't read a lot of it, but this could be a nice gateway for a lot of folks to go, hey, that High Republic stuff, or that stuff before the Phantom Menace, is kind of interesting. Why don't you give it a shot? Maybe they can kind of afterwards, maybe they can key in, and that we can kind of keep diving in, right? And
sure,
find a way to enjoy that and go, oh, now I can connect the dots. Now it makes more sense if I go back and read those books. Oh yeah, there's that thing. There's that thing.
yeah.
And that's what I like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Charles says Star Wars is for everyone is such a true statement.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Star Wars for everyone. I mean, we had Clone Wars, we had Ahsoka, we've got Andor, we've got even what do you call it? Resistance. So there's something for everyone for sure. Obviously I want to talk cards, but I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned it. 25 years ago, we were standing in line somewhere on this planet waiting for tickets to get to see Star Wars Episode 1. How crazy is that? A quarter of a century. I think I had less gray in my beard and you had maybe more hair.
No, unfortunately, I didn't have much
No?
hair then either. Um, it, it's funny to think now, and the process of 25 years, right? I think we had an episode a couple weeks earlier where, Daz Davies and I kind of went over kind of that pregame of the celebration of the 25th anniversary, because it's going to be something it's fun to talk about. And I think now you can start with the, with the window of time to kind of see, oh, this is what they're doing. This is what maybe didn't work so well. This is certainly what worked so well. And you can also see, especially when you see the fellow that did Jar Jar, Ahmed Best.
Yeah.
He just recently put out like an Instagram post where he was in a mocap suit again.
Right.
I think for Star Wars. And you go, what? You know what? I love seeing that stuff come full circle, because like what him and Jake Lloyd went through was terrible. And we didn't even have all the social bullets then as we do now to eviscerate folks right off the bat. And so, with the benefit of time, I went into it, famously, I was on the other side of the planet. We had one screen on this island, and there was a premiere party I got invited to, my friend and I. I think I didn't even know what pregaming was, but we pregamed it. And then they even had some more adult beverages when we got in there. And so I was really in a good mood when all that kind of stuff hit the screen, and kind of fell asleep through some of it. So I had to go back the next time and see what I missed. But I can remember that excitement of going, this is new Star Wars.
Yeah.
I am now an adult. Like 20 some years later, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then that excites me.
Sure.
And that's, I think, what I think you should go through. I don't know why I'm talking with my hands tonight. That's what you should go through when you see Star Wars going, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. Let me just look at it with, with open eyes and an open heart to it. And like later on, if it didn't really quite hit, we can talk about it and have fun talking about it. But
Sure.
Let's have some fun when the Acolyte and all this stuff comes out. And I can't wait for the Phantom Menace to go back in the screens, because I wouldn't mind seeing it with my kids,
Sure,
and
yeah.
the old one and the young one. And it's going to be kind of fun to see that on there. And, I think now we've seen it enough. I've kind of been watching enough going, I want to see that pod race again.
Yeah.
On the big screen. I want to see that big droid battle. I want to see Duel of the Fates blasting at me in the best sound possible. And I think it's going to be a blast. And maybe we'll have to do like a little Scarif meetup or something.
Yeah,
hopefully it's going to
absolutely.
be in theaters for more than just like a weekend or something, and have a little fun with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. We in May, and I've been actually recording already. We're going to have a massive commemorative show that celebrates 25 years of episode 1, getting together with other podcasters, other content creators, other friends of the podcast, and just talking about different aspects of episode 1. We're going to talk about the music. We're going to talk about the characters. We're going to talk about the hype that leads up to episode 1. I went to Los Angeles to spend a couple of nights in front of the Grauman's Chinese Theater. So it was an exhilarating moment and experience for me. It was really, really great. So I mean, besides me, I'm sure there's other people that are going to be kind of celebrating 25 years of episode 1 throughout the month of May. And obviously, as you know, May is Star Wars month. Traditionally, Star Wars has been released in May. I still have a kind of a little bit of a grudge against Disney for moving it to December, but that's another story. But yeah, absolutely. May is it's almost like my floating holiday at work. May 25th, I'm off. Take it off the calendar. Let's see who else is in the chat. Same people, but you guys are paying attention. Thank you so much. So a quick announcement. I've been doing these giveaways with a very talented artist, Your Weird Ant on Etsy. If you head over to Etsy and look for Your Weird Ant. These last month I gave away a set of Grogu earrings, and Nick from Backyard TARDIS won those. Going to give those to his daughter, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But Your Weird Ant on Etsy. These are some Ahsoka earrings, which are lovely. They're quite cute. If you want to check them out. I've been asking people to screenshot a shot of themselves listening or watching the show here tonight and tag the Scarif podcast. And then why don't you do this? Make sure that you follow Rebel Base Card on the socials. tag him, and then use the hashtag Great Pull Kid, and you will be entered to win the Ahsoka earrings. You know what? It's funny because I've got another pair of earrings that I'm thinking of giving away, but because of who they are, and I don't wear earrings obviously, but they are shore troopers for maybe next.
Ooh.
These are awesome, but I like shore troopers because I'm the Scarif podcast, and there's a connection. But these are really great. Head on over to Etsy. Your Weird Aunt. She's got some really great looking cool little things. All right, so I'm gonna pull up our card cam.
Ooh.
Whoops, hold on a second. Where are you? So this is 3 boxes. Here's the second one. I'm gonna put you over here.
Oh, it's perfect. Well done.
All right, so this is our quick little placeholder. I said I really wanted to get to show you guys the frames collection. They're beautiful cards, and I wonder if I can. Let's put some more light on here. There you go, somewhere in there. All right, obviously, Darth Vader. Okay, Revenge of the Sith. But this is just a placeholder. I wanted to actually get to your custom cards because these are amazing. And if you ever see Greg at an event, we've got C2E2 coming soon here in Chicago in April. Let's see. Let's put this over here. You've got something like this. You got something like this.
Hopefully the newest ones will be done. I'm trying to print up what will be series. Let's see. This will be series 5 that I'm finishing up. And thank you for spotlighting this. It started off, and I have a lot. It started off when we were doing the Scarif meetups, right? And I remember, we were trying Scarif Con, and I didn't really have a card, and I could figure out what I wanted to do for like a business card, and so I kind of hastily put that one together, and then I was like, you know what, I'm a card guy. I should, do some investigation. So I went through and found a couple of places that did printing of small batches of cards. And then it just became sort of like a scrapbook throughout the year of just, people I've met, cons I've gone to. And if you in getting into like making the wrappers for it, but also kind of spreading the word about cards and, putting real cards like you said in this one, like last year with the series 4, we were celebrating the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And so I put Return of the Jedi dupes from 1983 in there. Yeah, that's the previous series where, hey, from ScarifCon, we had Dominic Pace on. We did our 100th show. We did a remembrance of Ralph McQuarrie. There's Mike Summer from Wax Pack Hero podcast. Met him at the National. It was in Chicago last. There's our friend Todd Hoffman.
Yes.
One of my favorite pictures ever, sporting some swag packs right there. And then, yeah, we have the Scarif crew. Kevin Cleveland, tops sketch artist at the Chicago non-sport card show, where he was a featured artist. One year, they have that twice a year. Their spring show's coming up. We have the Chicagoland Sports Spectacular coming up here in a number of weeks. The National's going to be in Cleveland, so this is fun. They feel they're made to kind of look like the original 1977s.
Let's show the back of them. I mean, look at that.
And I do kind of do my best to kind of like give that vibe of the 77s and kind of do it in a matte, and then obviously maybe spark the bug to kind of collect a little bit, and that's why we sometimes will put in some real cards in there. I actually had for one series I had some sketch artists do me some special sketches that we included in certain packs, and I think I've actually got some other people that are going to do them this year. And so, yeah, I still have a bunch of these Series 4 packs that I'll be bringing to C2 and some cons this year. So I've got a bunch to still give away. They are a blast. It's a passion project. And yeah, and you even have like one of the original demo ones where I was trying to see if I could print on vellum. And we switched to copy paper because it was easier and I could do color.
Well, I mean, Charles said it in the chat. I mean, what a great idea. And when you showed me the first batch, I know you were experimenting still. You were still kind of trying some stuff out. But dude, I got so jealous. I'm like, why didn't I think of this? This is like amazing. I mean, look at this. You got your own card over there at Lucasfilm. It's really great. And then obviously, when we do have our podcast meetups here in Chicago, it becomes a card. So it's really fantastic, a really great idea. They are unique, they're genuine, and they're absolutely beautiful. So kudos to you, my friend, for doing that, and can't wait to get the next set. Excellent
That's
stuff.
fun. Yeah, this Series 5 will be the last of the 77s, so it'll be the orange, just like they did in 78 when Topps finished up with the original run. And then what I'm designing this year for handouts next year will be the Empire, because we're going to move into the 3 sets of Empire for the following 3 years. And so the designs, some folks I've already kind of preview design. Todd Hoffman already kind of wanted a custom card that had that Empire design. Empire is super cool. It's the vintage cards are so fun to kind of look at. But can't wait. And like I said, it's kind of fun. It gives you something to do during the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's get into a couple of these widescreen
Ooh, these are gorgeous.
postcards. They are. Comes in a nice little hard box, Star Wars frames, and I think this collection was available at the Disney store somewhere in the world. 100 postcards frames collection. There's several different versions of this box. I think there was a double box set. I think depending on the trilogy, but this one obviously has the original trilogy, and I think I kind of went through them. I think it was the original trilogy and some of the prequel stuff. So let's take a look at the first card. Obviously, it's Queen Amidala, and they're they're on cardstock, and they are postcards. I can't imagine anybody mailing these out because they're so beautiful.
Mm.
Let me come down here. Talking about episode 1, Natalie Portman as the queen. Very, very nice. Obviously the composition, they're beautiful, taken from the film. We've got Naboo.
Oh, that's really nice.
Very nice. Like I said, each one of these can be framed. I think they're beautiful enough to be framed, like this one.
And see, and with the Phantom Menace, and something we'll be talking about later on in the spring, is when the Topps cards came out in the US, they were widescreen. They had finished doing all like the re-releases of the original trilogy, and so they just went in. So there are 2 series of wide vision Phantom Menace movie cards, and then there was a 3D one that followed up that I've just been getting some this year. But the great thing about the wide vision cards is that you see so much, and they're really taking advantage of all the space in this one. And
Absolutely.
what's funny is, Padme doesn't really have a lot of solo wide vision cards in that first set. She's more found in a lot of the tie-in ones and the international releases, rather than these great solo ones that you're seeing on these postcards here.
Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. We have At last we will have revenge. At last we shall reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
You do that very well, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So obviously this is Darth Maul and talking to Palpatine in episode 1. I think this is one of the first shots that we got to see of the antagonist of the first trilogy. Well, one of the antagonists. Again, beautiful card and widescreen, rich blacks. Might have to adjust something there because I think something is being lost with the color there.
Yeah, you might be getting a little bit of glare, and that probably is because of the material in the card that's kind of
why
as you're
is
doing that. And it's interesting in the mid 90s when Topps released those wide vision cards for the original trilogy, you'd already had a generation that for the most part had been watching. The only way they could watch Star Wars was in 4:3 or pan and
Right.
scan, as it were. And so when you saw the re-releases, when you saw the wide vision cards, you really saw all that full frame that you'd forgotten you even seen, or you might have been too young and you didn't get a chance to see those movies in the theater. And so
Sure.
what's nice is that we're familiar with seeing Maul and Sidious here, but that background, I'm like, oh wow, I don't really remember it. Same thing with this one. Some of that
Yeah.
extra background in that
Like
frame, I'm like,
you
wow.
would see something like this,
All right.
right? And then you're like, oh, there's a moisture evaporator back there. That's that's I'm always a proponent of obviously watching a widescreen movie rather than the 4:3, the cutoff. And I remember early in the days of HD when they started doing that, you had movies that were presented in their original aspect ratio on a 4:3 screen, and people would complain that it wasn't the full picture because they had black bars at the top and bottom. And boy, were they wrong. Was it not only was it wrong, but it was even more than what you were used to. So kind of funny. But when folks don't understand the technology behind it, we have to be the stewards of the knowledge and let them know. Here's little Annie.
Oh, love it.
And it's funny. I did not know. Matt, thank you very much for coming by. If you wanted to catch the replay, we're going to TiVo it for you. So watch it again. One thing that I didn't realize, this actor, as he became older, he went to Columbia College here in Chicago.
Local tie.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
I really hope that he can eventually come back in and
Yeah.
get the accolades that he has deserved. And obviously, I respect what he needs to do for himself.
Sure.
But just like with Ahmad Best and with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, they've got a lot of like, hey, we're sorry he's coming back to them, and that he needs to hear that. Hopefully he's getting some of that wherever he
Yeah.
is. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
ooh.
We got a little Jabba the Hutt action and Bib Fortuna and Bib's girlfriend.
Before Bib got the Jabba bod.
Yeah. That's too funny. But yeah, a little digital Jabba. This reminds me of when Harrison Ford shot the scene with Jabba the Hutt in A New Hope, but they didn't finish it. George didn't have the technology to be able to do the creature that he wanted to in that scene. What do you think of the special editions in general?
I can't tell you that I really particularly enjoyed them inserting that scene back in, because they didn't quite get it right the first time. With them trying to move him around and standing on the, stepping on the tail and so forth. I think that's probably one of the worst things about that. But I saw some fan put together an edit where they had one of those like prequel droids with a hologram of Jabba that
Oh,
Han
okay.
walks around. I'm like going, you should hire that guy or redo that, because now that makes sense given
Mm,
what we saw in the prequels with like the droids, the Trade Federation droids and all that. But I would say I like seeing some of it. I think that they really went to town on A New Hope, and of course with Greedo, with hand shooting. What with hand shoot like Greedo shooting first or whatever like that. Han shot first.
Actually, Han shot only.
Yes. Yes, Han shot and took care of him, and it makes more sense. But I would say that that they really dished up Mos Eisley a bit, and then we
Yeah,
got a better do back out of it. But I definitely the battle at the end saw some improvement. But
sure.
I would say that I think the less is more, and I think what they did with Empire and with Return of the Jedi, with the exception of Jabba Palace's song, um, you know, hey, it's his movie. He can do what he wants.
I love a little extra lopty neck. I actually I Charles just says special editions UGG, but I actually um I think they did the best job with The Empire Strikes Back, the way they opened up Cloud City. I think
Yes.
that was kind of really, really neat to see. So yeah. Here is pod racing action. And again, you talk about watching episode 1 on the big screen. This is one of the reasons I can't wait to do so, because the audio work that Ben Burt did for this sequence is nothing short of incredible. So I would
Exactly.
definitely enjoy watching that. Let's see, a little Jedi Council again. A shot like this really benefits from a wide shot, a wide card, format / composition. It's really, really beautiful the way they did it. And again, talking about art, I mean, here is Naboo again with the ancient Easter Island type statues. Very nice. Again, just beautiful art in general. Star Wars or not, I mean, these are beautiful images.
If you go back to the Phantom Menace and you see some of those legacy documentaries on it, you see a young Doug Chang,
Mhm.
Noel, and all those guys who just really kind of cut their teeth underneath George Lucas, and really, you're seeing a lot of the fruits of their labors at that time. And Chang did such a great job on the designs for a lot of the Phantom Menace, and it's a beautiful film. And it's interesting that you could almost say that wouldn't have been interesting if there was another film in between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones that introduced Hayden. I was kind of thinking of this going, could you have taken a little bit of that meat off of the Clone Wars and given us a full Hayden? What would we have all thought, had we had a little more story?
Sure.
But yeah, and this fight here, I mean,
You know,
blew me
I
away.
It's still the best Star Wars fight out there. We're getting some new Star Wars, but I don't think anything, for me at least, has topped the voraciousness of this fight between these two characters. And obviously, since we did get a wonderful explanation about the Duel of the Fates and Dave Filoni's explanation of the fight between Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. And then obviously, spoilers if you haven't seen episode 1, Qui-Gon dies. But yeah, it's to me it's still the best fight. When I first got my nonlinear editing computer system for my business, the first thing that I did was digitize this entire scene. And Isaac, thank you very much. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good night,
He
Isaac.
says, the first thing that I did was I digitized this scene, and I edited it together without going back to the Gungans fighting and then Amidala going through the. I just made it like one complete scene.
And it only took 800 hours to render.
Yeah, exactly. Too funny.
We had a Mac system that had Premiere like 4.2 on it, and I remember with a coworker of mine who had Photoshop, and I forget, there was the animation one where you'd try to render a piece of animation, and it would take all night, and you'd all of a sudden realize the next morning that frames were dropped. Oh man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Here is hold on a second. The wife is texting.
Another card here that benefits from all that extra work on the Tantive hallways. And what's nice is in each of these where you would expect almost them to be in the center of the frame, but because you have that gorgeous wide frame, you get a little camera 101 where it's like, if I'm talking about composition, it's so much stronger that you have the balance of the figures against the wall, the strong geography of the wall on the other one, or the geometry of the wall on the other one. And
yeah,
really nice.
It's a beautiful hallway. They set it up here when Star Wars Celebration came to Chicago. They had a wall built like that. People can come and take pictures of themselves, take selfies with the wall. I wouldn't mind having one of these in my in my basement just to kind of hang out. But yeah, I mean, the design of this of the ship, obviously stemming back from regular Star Wars or Star Wars: A New Hope, is beautiful. And again, getting back to some lightsaber action, we've got Anakin and Obi-Wan here in Revenge of the Sith.
You have done that done self, yeah.
You are my brother, Anakin. And another wonderfully composed shot. But see, that's the wonderful thing about widescreen really is man, what was my other phone? I cringe when I see people like videotaping recording like this.
Portrait. Friends don't let friends shoot in portrait.
No. Years ago, I started some controversy because my company and I wanted to spearhead the first ever vertical film festival, and we actually got a lot of heat for that, and we were nudged into not doing it. Very funny. Talk about rendering. There's a lot of digital assets here. Let's see, what does Charles say here? I have this collection of cards too. We gave away some cards to our. Oh yeah, actually, Charles.
Dun dun dun.
This is where Charles and Pat wrote me a special message, and it's on one of these. It's beautiful.
Oh, sick. Look at that.
Yeah,
it's a great shot from Empire.
It is, and obviously, I am of love with the Empire. Darth Vader is my favorite character of all literature or movies or anything. So I keep this one at an arm's stretch here. So it's beautiful. Lovely message from friends and a beautiful image for a Star War. Here is
look at that shot of Coruscant.
Widescreens are very awesome, Waldo.
Agreed, Waldo.
Yeah.
If you haven't look on eBay for some of the 1995 A New Hope wide vision cards, because those 90s ones, they started off with a ton of information on them, and they're just so much fun. A lot of extra pictures, behind the scenes stuff. They are worth chasing if you haven't already.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, I always go to Target, for, family shopping and stuff like that. And I always wander in the card area.
Me too.
I never find any Star Wars stuff. It's always, sports cards or Magic or Dungeons and Dragons. Where do you get, I know you can order the big boxes, but if you just want to grab a couple of packs, where do you usually go?
It's tough because, whereas, when the Phantom Menace, when The Force Awakens came out and they started to really go back heavy into retail. There'd been some, retail ones before, but that's kind of like what got me back in. And it was kind of fun because you'd see where blasters, and if you go to Target and Walmart, you'll see, rows and rows of blasters now, because we're past COVID, right? Everybody got all their orders in. And so you're seeing tons of sports, NBA, where, MLB season 1, or 2024 series 1 is already out in stores. But there's typically, Topps has done 1 or 2 sets where they will have a retail box. Last year it was Topps Chrome that came out earlier in the year, and then you had the flagship, the Topps Star Wars, and that was out for a while. Kenobi was in stores, but of late, they don't have any new product that I've seen in blasters. Walmarts are a little more hit or miss, depending upon how well the store is organized in stock, because usually where the cards are, it can either be really nice or it can just be a mess. I would say Target is a better place if you're going to go, because I've even started to see more and more Marvel releases from Upper Deck, which is not Topps. But at least there's some non-sports in there. And, a lot of times you might see some of the Garbage Pail Kids stuff, because I know they've been re-releasing that. But a lot of times, a lot of the releases of late, also hobby releases. And these are ones that more of your bigger, card enthusiasts will buy, because the boxes are a little more expensive. Sometimes your local card store might take a box and break it, but they kind of lose money if they kind of break it and sell it individually.
Okay.
They're not usually encouraged to, but sometimes if you're in a place like Chicagoland, you might find a store that has them. But I would say post COVID, I see them more rarely in there. But one thing I would say is that if you go on a place called Cardboard Connection that's an online website, you'll see a new product calendar. Nothing yet for this year, but if you kind of keep that tabbed, you can see when card releases are out. And I swear, a lot of times now, if you're just if you like that series, like, oh, I want to I enjoyed the Kenobi series and I want to get their cards, go on eBay and look for like sets or lots of, because a lot of these bigger card collectors, once they buy their boxes and cases, a lot of times they're looking for the hits, the autos, the plates, the 101s, the superfractors, and the base cards, they just kind of let go pretty cheap. And so you can build sets really nice on the cheap if you kind of go to secondary markets, which I generally say you'll find better luck with. Plus the fact that you can find a lot of those cards for sets that, hey, you didn't get a chance to collect when you were a kid, or hey, I forgot, I didn't know that had a set. So that's where I say I've been finding a lot for the Phantom Menace cards that I didn't even know existed, ones in other countries. And so right now, I would say keep on your secondary markets. I try to put out some news on new sets. I know that a lot of these big card groups and so forth do a much better job than me. And just lastly, I know I can go on. You have to kind of shut me up. But you kind of said it in the beginning. And, I never want to like when you get in some of these groups, these hardcore collecting groups, and a lot of times, it's hard if you're someone new breaking into this, because these people already kind of know what they're doing. And sometimes they can be less than social about things. And, they're doing it mostly in text chats. And so I never want to make it seem like, I may know more than your average person about cards, but there are folks out there that can blow me out of the water. And you know what? I just try to talk to kind of talk to the casual collector and go, hey, look, if you're interested, you can always ask me a question. Find me on the socials, or like I said, go to some of these sources like Cardboard Connection and you can search for it and you can find a set like that you're interested in. Because when I got back into collecting, going from these Wide Vision the prequel trilogy cards, a lot of those 90s cards I didn't get a chance to collect because I was overseas. It's fun. It's a learning process. And hopefully if you follow the podcast and what you're learning with me, I love these postcards, man.
Yeah, they're beautiful. And I would encourage anyone so I don't collect cards. I don't collect the modern cards, like, from beginning to end. I have all the vintage cards. They're in binders, in plastic and stuff like that. So I've got all the old cards. But one of the things that I started really looking for, and you talk about secondary markets, I think eBay is a great place. I know a lot of, obviously some people have had issues with eBay and stuff like that, but when you find a deal and it's secure and it's safe, it's really a great place to kind of wet your whistle with whatever it is that you want to collect. I've really been into these signature Star Wars cards that are sketch cards. Artist by the name of Dan Berggren. Here is
Oh yes.
Here's a Luke, which beautiful. It's almost like a watercolor texture. There's a biker scout.
Turn one of those around so they can kind of see what they kind of look like on the back. There you go.
Yeah, I mean they're gorgeous.
And sketches kind of came into play about 20 years ago, and I think it was with Heritage, Star Wars Heritage in like 2004, because the autographs didn't really come into play until 2001. So if you go back, people are trying to crack like 90 stuff looking for like autos and stuff. You'd be sadly mistaken. You get like foil stuff. But the autographs didn't really come until 2001. But the sketch cards literally started with like just basic sketches. And one of the folks that we have in the area, Dave Dorman, who's done a lot of great Star Wars art. He literally would talk about, I just do these rough pencil sketches, and they'd insert them in the packs. But over time that they have gotten more and more detailed. And so now they become very sought after. And so they become one of these great chases you can find in a card set. And whereas before, when they first started out, you'd see a lot of kind of the same type of image from a sketch artist. Now, pretty much you're finding all one of ones. So these are all
Mhm.
like, they might be commissioned to do, 10, 20, 30, 50. And then part of their compensation, at least up until this year, was is that they would get some blank ones back, depending on how many they did, that they could use for commissions. And that's how they would also make. It's almost like a base versus commission. They make a little bit on each of the cards they submitted, and they could use what they call their artist proofs, and they would get back, they would make a little bit back. I think Topps and Fanatics are kind of changing the game a little bit. Oh, look at that.
Dennis Lawson.
And I think you really hit the head on it, Ro, is that someone who may not be interested in collecting a ton of cards, but they like the fact that these modern sets have autographs from maybe characters they like or they want to collect. And a lot of times, if you look for a particular actor Topps autograph, you'll see that maybe Topps has gotten their autograph for a number of sets. Now, Masterwork, which is what you have here, is a thicker card, and it's an on-card auto. Lot of other sets throughout the year will be thinner, and they'll use like these sticker autographs, like you'll see in baseball a lot. But
Mhm.
here is like something where you can enjoy this autograph, but you don't necessarily have to collect all the Masterwork cards. So in this case, you
Yeah.
could have a small collection of like, hey, I want to get Wedge's autograph. And if you're New Hope, you want to try to get all the different Wedge's autographs. But that's a great thing to chase. I did it because prices were high for a finest release a couple years ago. I did a rainbow of Oliver F. Davies, who did, Sio Bibble from the Phantom Menace. And I did a rainbow of all the different variants of the signatures. And they had variant signatures that were different, that were numbered. And so that was kind of fun. And it was
Yeah.
something where it didn't cost a ton of money, but it was fun to see a rainbow of sketches, or
Yeah.
a rainbow of signatures.
And you have spoken with local artists, and you've become friends with them throughout your adventures on the convention circuit. What's up, Big T, Little T?
Hey.
Oh, wait a minute. We just let's see. We just featured you. I gotta look for the special Todd card. Here you go. There he is.
Oh, and you can thank Ro for taking a good picture of Big T and Little T that I think we're doing a new card for them. I'm kind of excited. We did some preliminary work on it, and that's a kind of the nice thing where it's like, when you talk about doing some of these custom cards, it's like, if you go to one of your local conventions, let's say you go to C2, or you run into like the 501st, which is, Todd is a proud member of, a lot of times they have their own cards. They get custom cards made.
Yes, that's right.
And some of my favorite things, and a lot of times they'll sign the back, and I love it. Have an artist sign their work, man. And then to be able I've worked on a few cards for some 501st members, and it's a great thrill because these folks are awesome. They do great work for charity, and it's kind of fun. And there are different, there's one for the Midwest Garrison. There you see the Mando Mercs, Rebel Legion. And I think was it Galactic University? There was like the youth cosplay group. Notice how all these cool different designs, and what's a thrill? What a thrill it's got to be for someone who does this great work on their costume, and then they have a card made, and you're like, man, I got my own trading card. That's pretty dope.
It is. It's really cool. And I think these are all the guys that came to the first Scarif Con here in Andersonville in Chicago. Really great group. But I started to ask you about local artists, and one of the things, I mean, I love my cards. I love the fact that you are able to kind of approach these local artists and talk to them, especially when you're at conventions and stuff like that. There's a buddy of mine, Sean Crummel. I ordered a couple of stickers from him. Here's one of the stickers. You got to see this. It's amazing stuff.
Ooh.
He does these cool stickers. And I bought a couple of things. So he's prepping his own comic book series with this character, and I forgot, kill me because I forgot the name of the character, but one of my favorite ones is his Cave Woman collection for reasons, but it's really colorful. I mean, take a look at these two. They're amazing. But he's also on Etsy. check them out. The Real Sean Crummell Art. If you guys are interested. But since I bought some of his stuff, he was able to take a blank card and just send me a little thank you sketch of
Nice.
one of my favorite characters. So big kudos to Sean. But yeah, it's really great to be able to talk with other artists and get to know them through the conventions and things like that. And then have a piece of their talent. You appreciate the work that they do by supporting them, and to be able to get a little extra something is always a treat.
And something also, it's like you're talking about, like whether it's a postcard or whether it's a sketch card. When you go to like C2 or you see one of like literally one of the biggest artist alleys, I think in the area. A lot of times I don't have room for prints. I don't have that big Star Wars room. And so what's nice is, getting one of their cards is a nice pocket-sized piece of art that I can collect. I can kind of support them. And it's a lot of times it's like a one-on-one. It's something that's very unique, or it's a copy of one of their cards. But
Yeah.
it's seeing Star Wars through their eyes and their vision, and it's something unique. And that's what's kind of cool. It's their take on something. It's like
Absolutely.
their version of a podcast, right? Because they're
Yeah.
doing their own take, and it's something that's just it's not that doesn't feel like that mass produced piece of plastic that everybody has. It's something like not a lot of people have. And
Right.
check out your local con. Doesn't matter how big it is. Go to your local library show. Go to go to Star Wars Day. Support the people where they are, and lovely folks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Got a lot of cards on my desk now, but
You're doing all the work for me, man.
next time we got to do one in person. We should get together at a little get together, little comic book store, and just kind of talk to some people as they come by and grab their books. But that should be a lot of fun. Thank you guys in the chat for coming on by and hanging out with us. Remember, like I said, but before we go, we're not leaving yet, but I wanted to make sure that you guys know that I'm giving away, not these. This is for next month. I'm giving away these Ahsoka earrings. So if you want a chance to win the Ahsoka earrings, why don't you screenshot a shot of yourself enjoying the show tonight, and make sure you follow Greg over at Rebel Base Card, and use the hashtag Great Pull Kid, and then we'll pick a random winner from the entries. Hopefully, I'll get tons. And I'll throw in some Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast stickers and make it worth your while. But yeah, hoping somebody might have any questions in the chat about cards for you, Greg. But this has been a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, by the way, since you didn't bring up Legos, but those earrings were Lego. The Western Suburbs is getting another of those bricks and minifig stores in Schaumburg that's going to be opening up. And if you follow like at BAM Schaumburg or whatnot, I went to a buying event down more toward Todd's area. I think it was in Crest Hill. I know Todd, you live in Manhattan. But it was kind of exciting. I was able to kind of like unload some Star Wars Legos that I wasn't necessarily doing anything with, and recoup a little bit so I could put it towards some other things. But it's kind of fun because, like, yeah, it's a chain, but it's a chain of like they repurpose Legos, and they also make these really rad custom ships. Like there was almost like a B-wing where they come up with a design, and then they'll kind of like, oh yeah, that's the way to do it, and they'll box it up, and so you can get new product there, you can get used product there, and you can also get some custom stuff, and it's kind of fun. It was like, it was a nice experience, and I'm excited to get another store in. And that's one of the nice things about being in the area, is that yes, we all kind of live in different areas, and Chicagoland is huge. There may be a store opening up near you. I was talking to a buddy of mine at work, and I'm like, yeah, there's one in Las Vegas where you live. I'm like, dang. So at any rate, but it's
Very
kind of
nice.
fun. Party rooms. and
Very
all that.
nice.
They're not paying me, by the way, but I'm just saying, they say it was a cool vibe, but that's the kind of stuff when we go, you take advantage of what's in your area. And I
Sure.
got some new remote gear, and I'm dying to try it out.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Big T, Little T has a question. What is your favorite pull, Greg?
This is a great
Besides
question.
besides your hamstring.
Yeah. I would say so. This goes back to ties right into great question. So one of the first artists I was able to talk to was Dawn Murphy. She's from the area, and at that time, I met her at the Orland Library Comic Con, and she had a booth. She was up in their artist alley, and she does some amazing work. Did also like costume illustration as well, and she eventually got picked up by Tops and
Oh
then
wow.
even went to Celebration. She was in on the art gallery for the 2020 that didn't happen, but in Anaheim in 2022, she was one of the featured artists in the art gallery where they had prints that they could make and sell. And so it was really kind of fun to watch her progression through. And she does amazing work. Look for her on Instagram and whatnot. But 2021's Chrome Galaxy, I actually pulled one of her sketch cards from the hobby box that I bought. And, those hobby boxes, like those sets usually have a couple hundred artists in them. So to pull someone that I actually knew that I talked to that had on the program before, and she's on one or two of the cards, the custom cards that I did. I think she's in on that blue series if you go back to it. That was like karma right there. And it's one of my favorite polls. Obviously, I think in that top 5 would be my son had got me a box of 2019 Skywalker Saga that yielded a of 5 Hayden Christensen auto that last year at the National that was in Chicago. It's a big card show. I had one of the companies slab it or grade it mainly to protect it so that if I ever decide to move it on to another buyer, the card is protected. And because Hayden Christensen, you might have heard of him. He actually has been in a couple of things recently.
Mhm.
Wow, something like that. So those are probably 2 of probably my biggest and most favorite pulls. Great question.
Excellent. Excellent. And I do have an answer for you, Todd. Let me go see if I can find it quickly and
Talk amongst yourselves.
talk amongst yourselves. Hold on a second. I know it's somewhere. Hold on.
No, that's fine. Well, and for those of you who are still in the chat and watching us live like that, once again, cards is something that I do, but on the show, a lot of times I just try to talk to folks who are, casual collectors, folks, because, I think if you are a Star Wars fan, you have a collection of something, right? And maybe it's not even something that you intended to do where it's like, oh, I like that Funko or I like that was cool. I saw that at Target. And it is something where it's kind of fun to start thinking about what really makes your collection. What is it something that you enjoy collecting, whether it's a character, whether it's a line of toys and things like that. But the main thing is that, whereas with Star Wars fans, a lot of times we buy to buy. We're just excited about the fact that there's Star Wars stuff on a shelf somewhere. I think it's wise every now and then to kind of take stock of what you are collecting and what makes you happy. And it's okay to kind of say, you know what, maybe I need to kind of thin down the collection. I want to kind of focus on one thing or focus on this thing that brings me joy. I think any collectible should be attached to like a memory or something that makes you happy because you could refer to that time and time again. For me, a lot of times it's cards, but other times it might be a Kenner figure that I reacquired because I don't have my original figures, or it was putting together the micro collection a couple years ago that I only had a piece of. So I think the thing, and I know that many podcasts that you have on the Red 5 network, a lot of times will talk about collecting and so forth. Now even collecting swag, right? Charles and Pat did those great pieces of swag for yes, the last Scarif Con. It's fun to kind of collect these ones. And yes, you're not going to make a mint off selling one of my stickers or one of the cards, but for me, it's a memory. It's a link to a memory that happened that I
Sure.
was, I remember you were showing that card earlier of myself interviewing Dominic Pace, and I knew that you were taking my picture, and I was like, I know
You
what to
were
do.
like posing. You're
I'm
posing.
like, my gaze was like, I am focused on your every word, man, and I was. But it's just one of those things where it was a great thrill to be able to interview Dominic Pace at Scarif Con, and so now I have a card.
Yeah. Excellent. So the card that I was looking for, I put up another question for with Charles. The card that I was actually looking for is I have both the corrected version and the error version of C3PO and his goldenrod. Too bad that I couldn't find it, but you guys know what it looks like. And actually, the corrected version is worth more than the error version, because I think the error version went out all over the place, and it's more readily available than the actual corrected version. So, very interesting tidbit about that.
Hang on here. I might actually, yes. Here, I'll bring. Okay, so this is a PG rated podcast, right? So we have. Let me see if I can get here. All right, so we have Goldenrod right here. This is my OG one. I pulled this out of a pack, and as you can see, he looks pretty darn excited to be on a card. But that was more of just an accident that even Topps now admits. Gary Jordan admits nobody really caught this, or maybe not. So later on, they actually corrected it, and you can see here. Sorry for the background. The gist of it is he's less excited. But the question was, is it worth grading your most top-notch cards? One thing I would say is be glad you didn't ask this question 2 or 3 years ago during COVID, when it was super expensive to grade cards and everybody was sending their stuff into PSA because everybody thought once again they were going to be sending their kids to college with it. I would say that your 77s, your vintage, they're not really going to lose value. So I think what maybe COVID did was maybe move the bar up a little bit on what, like a full set or something like that. But I would say of those 77s, if you have a Luke Skywalker #1, I would say maybe think about grading it. And there are plenty of companies, anywhere from CCG to PSA to Beckett. There's a lot of places that will do it fairly inexpensively, and it might be good to do that just to preserve its value, so that way, like for me, one of the things about my goldenrod is that I have a turned corner. Somewhere along the line when it was in a shoebox, it got bent. It's not the end of the world. This is still a pretty decent price if I put it on the market. But also notice that it's a little off center, right? So some folks may have Star Wars cards in their shoebox. Centering counts, dinged corners count. But if you have, like, whether it's today or 10 years from now or 15 years from now, a Luke Skywalker #1 is still going to be a pretty valuable card. The goldenrod and the corrected one will be a pretty valuable card. If you have one or more of these and you're like, look, I want to preserve it, it might be a good idea to get it slabbed. I have these in binders. I have a lot of my original sets, but I also have ones that I pick up that I call beaters, that I like to just kind of every now and then I'll take them out. I'll do the puzzle. But I don't care about their condition so much. And
Right.
so, I even sometimes enjoy getting like lots that have these really beat up cards. And I'm like, man, this card should not be alive today, but it is somehow. It's hanging in there, but it was pre-loved. And so that's the thing. That, I have an extra set, right? I'm a nerd. So I have one in the box and I have one that I can take out and hold. And I have one just in case, right?
Right.
Someone go watch that YouTube commercial. I do want to, before we get back, Jason Wynn in the chat was talking about values on baseball cards. Accurate. Most of my cards from the 80s are showing they're worth only $1. Yes, because from about 87 to 94 is what they call the junk wax era. Cards were becoming more and more popular, and so companies were printing them like they were going out of style. Now, if we march back to like 1980, Topps had a monopoly on cards for several decades. But in 1980, Fleer and Donruss were able to start printing them. And so by the time that cards got really popular in the late 80s, they were just making millions of them. That's why, the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie cards, Upper Deck and all those things. Yes, they have some value, but you almost have to have a PSA 10 graded one to have any value on some of those. So a lot of those cards from like the late 80s, early 90s, I'm afraid they don't really have much value to them. My son just brought home a box of like 1987 Topps that a local card shop was just getting rid of some of these junk wax era. And I'm like, I was like, he was showing me pictures and I'm like, no, the best thing you can do is trash them. Because that way it'll take some of them out of circulation. But
Right.
there are within each of those sets, and I would say if you have a particular card from a particular set, go look online saying, hey, look, do a search for the 10 most valuable cards of 1987 Tops or 1988 Donruss, and they'll give you a good idea of pretty much what the value of that is. But granted, a lot of those usually require you to have them graded because these collectors, these higher end collectors, are looking for PSA 10s or high grade or something that doesn't have a high population, right? And
Sure.
that's what I say. Like, I think most people, sure, you can get them done, but just know, have your expectation of what that card is. Just because you found something, if you have, like there's several grades, but complete sets matter. Orange 1977s or the 78s, they weren't as produced. All those cards had millions produced, but they tend to be more expensive. If you're looking to get in, the red 1977s, there's a lot of those. The reds, the yellows, the greens. There's a lot of those out there. This one will be, the goldenrod will be one of the more expensive ones to get, just like some of the early blues, those first editions. But if you have them, great. Hold on to them. Maybe try to work on completing those sets over time. If do it for no other reason than the puzzle, and you will love yourself over that puzzle. Is those puzzles, and there were 2 of them per each of those sets, are a joy to put together every time. Every
That's too
time.
funny. Too funny. And the puzzles are the ones where you had stickers in the card sets, correct? And then the back of them is where the puzzles came from.
For Empire and Return of the Jedi, yes. For the 77s, they actually put the puzzle on the base card itself. So you had some of them have like movie facts, and then others had and these puzzles are not like 9 or 10. These are like 25. There are many cards that went into it, and they frustrated me to death because trying to collect them as a kid, I would put that puzzle together, and I'd see several open spaces. I'm like, just imagining what that card would. I'm like, I want to finish this puzzle. And I remember, in finishing some of these sets later on. Oh yeah, I was putting together the puzzle. I'm like, man, I owe it to myself, to that 7 or 8-year-old, to put together that puzzle and go, finally, mission accomplished. But complete sets matter. If you've got those stickers, I didn't. I had to pay a lot of money to get those stickers
Wow.
back. Complete sets with stickers matter. At any rate, that's the short version. I can keep going.
Yes, you can definitely. And what did I
I can
say
threaten.
earlier? What did I say earlier? If you want to know anything about cards, Greg is your guy. I'm just here to learn. Before I get to Charles's question, I wanted to ask you about bootlegs because I was able to dig up a bootleg that I have, which I really enjoy. Is this bootleg
Ooh.
sticker of Han Solo dressed in a weird green-ish outfit here. And this is a sticker that I found. I don't know where I found this in the late 90s in one of the stores, but
That's awesome.
I just, again, bootlegs, are worth whatever it is that you want to pay for it. They're not official. They're just somebody made them, whatever. But sometimes they're kind of cool, and sometimes you want to, like I did, I guess. Sometimes you want to put them in a case. But this one is such an interesting card. Again, it's a sticker. I didn't even take the pricing off. Is $2, but it's it's neat. It's not as neat, kind of like as what you if you remember the comic books had variant covers. I guess they still do, just kind of as a weird little marketing gimmick. But the bootlegs are something that I know a lot of people collect because they're just kind of an oddity, and I think they're a lot of fun.
Well, we'll tell you what. If I was to kind of mash up Stephen A. Smith with Antiques Roadshow, let me get you excited about this stuff, and I also disappoint you at the same time. What
Right.
I would say is that with some of these, right, I'm always finding new cards like, like food tie-ins or these one-offs, or if you remember back, and if you're really old enough, you remember like, when they would put Nolan Ryan on a Hostess Twinkie box, and you're going, that's pretty dope. Or finding international flavors of these, and know that, oh wow, Canada did this stuff on a cereal box that
Mhm.
wasn't in the US. So sometimes, rarity matters, and you might find a Harrison Ford character collector that goes, you know what? It's crazy. Yeah, I know it's a bootleg one, but there's
Right.
not a lot of them out there. It's unique. And so that might be a piece that, I think definitely you'd get more for it. but like I said, it depends on who's kind of picking it up. I think it's a fun piece of a collection. It's kind of like those, like the toy bootlegs as well. And
Right.
those can be actually worth a lot of money because it's just something that, hey, it got out there. Now we just had Mickey go into the public domain for Steamboat Willie, and
Hmm.
so it's going to be amazing to see what people do with that. But this is kind of a fun thing to have. It's kind of like my Wonder Bread cards. I had one Wonder Bread Star Wars card, and as a completist, I don't know why I kept it, but it's like one of my favorite cards.
Hmm.
I eventually finished that collection, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
just kind of something that's kind of fun. And you go, you know what? Who doesn't like Han Solo? But
Sure.
this is really kind of cool. I dig it, and it's unique. And you
Yeah.
never know. It's like, and if you're like, you know what, I would like it to move on. List it and see what happens. I mean, what
Sure. Yeah.
I think you'll get your money back.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So that kind of goes with Charles's question here. Are your cards for you or a commodity that you want to sell? And for me particularly, it's I don't think I ever collected any of the Star Wars items to say that I'm going to sell them and strike it rich. Although I will kind of, I guess, backtrack a little bit because during Phantom Menace episode 1, um, I was one of the people that bought 10 Darth Mauls because I thought those 10 Darth Mauls were going to finance down payment on a house. Little did we know that they overpopulated and overproduced those figures. But coming out of the dark times in the 90s, before episode 1, there was nothing out there, and obviously people were kind of going back and trying to recoup some of the toys that they grew up with, and commanding some crazy prices for their vintage collectibles. But yeah, I think I still got them somewhere. I've got 10 Darth Mauls and some other 5 Jar Jars, and I don't know, whatever. But it's interesting. So do you collect cards as a commodity that you want to sell, or is it something that you enjoy? And there's no wrong answer, but
Right.
what is the deal with you?
I think I collect out of passion for collecting. I mean, it's pretty much if it isn't nailed down, I've probably had a collection of it, whether it's coins, newspapers, figures at one point. But I would say I enjoy cards. And I think as far as Star Wars is concerned, for me, it's one of those tent poles, right? It's like you have your comics, your cards, and your Kenner. Okay, that's 2 Cs and 1K. But you get what I'm talking about, where to me it takes me back to a time when I'm like, we didn't have where we can just fire it up on Disney Plus and we could just, we could go back and revisit those scenes, but it was something we could kind of hold. And it's like, the baseball cards as well. It's like following your heroes and collecting them and trading them and putting them on, like on your bikes and all that kind of stuff. But I would say that there are smart collectors out there who realize going, you know what, I can help finance my hobby by, if I don't need these, or if I have excess, or if I have a autograph that I pulled, but I'm like, you know what, it's not in my heart, I'll let it go, and then maybe I can use those funds to buy other cards that I do want. And so I would say that, Mike Summer of the Wax Pack Hero podcast does a great job of talking to folks about that and how to sell and how to package it up and all this. And I wish more people did, because a lot of times when I get cards off of eBay in the mail, they damn near seal it. So I nearly destroy the card getting it out of
Wow.
the mailer.
Yeah.
But I would say I do it mainly out of passion. I
Sure.
have sold off some stuff. I may sell off that auto or two, but those funds can go right back in. And I think if you do it right, I think the folks that get into trouble if they find something, it's like it's anybody that hops on a trend a little too late. It's like if you're getting into it to make money, or to auction it, or to do it to razzes or all this kind of stuff, do your homework first. There are a lot of folks online who do a really, really great job. And I can give you some great, suggestions online to follow. Star Wars Card Crazy on Instagram is a great follow if you really want to get into that side of it, because they'll give you some frank, good information on it. Or you get into some of these groups, and that way you don't bury yourself trying to get something, because it can be like gambling, where it's like you're
Oh
chasing
yeah.
those boxes to try to get a, who's he, what's it, or a super factor. And before you know it, you can get yourself into trouble. So I
Sure.
would say, like, wherever way you're coming at it, whether it's a character collecting, whether you like set building, or whether you're trying to like flip it or to be a breaker or something like that, do some homework first and test the waters before you jump in. Ask somebody. It doesn't have to be me. Just ask somebody some advice, and hopefully you get some good advice.
Absolutely. We I think it's safe to say that we collect because we enjoy the franchise. Obviously, we enjoy remembering what memories it brought to us. And I think that's for the most part that's it's a nice healthy way to kind of remember your childhood, your youth, the stuff that you love. Absolutely. Yeah.
Very nice quote, Nicole, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Greg, this has been a wonderful, jam-packed scuttlebutt episode worth of some awesome information. I want to thank folks in the chat that hung out with us. Charles, I hope you're done with your taxes. And the rest of you guys, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Why don't you tell folks where people can find you? And remember, if you're still watching, if you're watching now, if you're watching later, these earrings I'm giving away, so please get a selfie of you enjoying the show tonight, and make sure to follow Rebel Base Card, my friend Greg over there, and use the hashtag Great Pull Kid and tag me, Scarif Podcast, on the Twitter, and we'll pick a winner, and we'll send these out with along with some other swag, some more Scare swag. But where can people find you? And then let me know what else what you have coming up.
Well, and for one, thank you for letting me come on. And I'm on good authority that if you're having problems sleeping, just fire up one of my podcasts, man. Listen to me for a while. I'll put you right out. I swear. But if you want to follow me, if you like what you hear, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter X. I think I'm now on Blue Sky. Most places at Rebel Base Card. And if you go into your like Apple Podcast or Spotify, if you look up for the Rebel Base Card Podcast, you will find me there. We do a couple different kind of shows. There's the main shows. Like I said, we talk about cards, collecting, and community. It can be a little bit of everything. I might be upcoming. I'll be Greg and I just actually finished our insert podcast series called The Breakfast Pack, where we're doing Bad Batch coverage. And we've talked about other shows before. So we've got about 68 of those. And I think there's about 150 some of the main show. But upcoming, we actually talked to some creators about how they covered the Bad Batch. Folks who do writing for Fantatrax, or they do their own podcasts, Star Wars reactions and whatnot, because when these programs start, it gets everybody busy. And so it's kind of interesting to learn about their process. So it was a nice special show. Mark Newbold from Fantatrax, I'll be hopefully talking to this weekend. I'll be putting out that show because that man does an enormous amount of work, and all the folks that do stuff for Fantatrax are amazing. But I love asking people about it. And me, like, once I started like hanging out around with you and all the great Red 5 folks, it's been a joy because it's fun watching you guys do what you do, and all the great folks that are in the Red 5 network, and it's just been fun. So a little bit of everything. I hope you like what you hear. Like I said, it's a lot of my voice. Hopefully it's a lot of other people as well, because it's not just me, because otherwise it's like, so at any rate.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. Mark and I are going to get together. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 1. He's another one of our friends that, I'm going to have a lot of people come on and just talk about different aspects of Episode 1 for our 25th anniversary celebration of Phantom Menace. So a lot of fun stuff. As a Star Wars nerd and as a collector, I hope everyone has fun liking what they like and collecting what they like to collect. So yeah, that's we've been talking for about 90 minutes. Greg, I really appreciate you and your time. It always time, they say time flies when you're having fun, and that cannot be more truer than when you're talking Star Wars or anything online with a friend. So thank you so much for that.
No problem. It was a pleasure, and thanks to everybody in the chat for hanging on, and I appreciate all the comments and the questions.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Until next time, I'm not sure if I'm going to have a Scarif Live on Saturday. I might take a break, but no new audio only episode. have the cojones, I'll put the audio of this show in the podcatchers and let folks listen to us while they're driving to traffic through the traffic in the morning. So absolutely. Thank you, everyone. If you guys have any comments or questions about anything you saw tonight, obviously feel free to reach out to us, Greg and myself. And leave us a voicemail on the Scarif Scuttlebutt hotline, 773-234-8659, and let us know what your favorite pull has been, if you are a card collector, or if you have any questions about collecting cards or Star Wars or anything in particular. Until next time, that's Greg and I'm Ro, and that is the Scuttlebutt. Hey-o! Excellent.